Like I said, I lost some lives actually, even though I'm still existing.
You're a cat. You got 9 lives. How many have you lost?
Actually, I know we've talked about this from the beginning, like growing up in Nigeria, and how was it like growing up with my parents? Growing up, we were able to eat. We were just, normally you have your basic 3 square meals, but not for everybody actually, But then at some point, I was beginning to realize a lot of stuff that my parents didn't tell me because my father was a very transparent person. He gets his salary and then he's just bringing it to the table. And I could remember as a kid then, I knew he was receiving a salary of, I think, 2,500 naira. Yeah, that was, with that, you wouldn't even get yourself a meal this day. I think 1994. 1994, 95, this time, thereabout. Yeah, so it was really, me growing up now, I was beginning to understand what it was like, growing up with such amount of money. So it was like a mystery, actually, when I think about it now, because you can't get a square meal with such money. And somebody is working for 30 days to get that and feed family. We were big families. But as at then, you could, I think with 2,000 naira, you could maybe feed a family, but not a family of 7. Yeah. Maybe you could feed a family of 2, 3. Yeah, because things were not so much expensive then, I would say. But the older we get, things become harder and harder. And at some point, I basically, as a kid, let me just put it this way, based on my observation, I knew I was supposed to do stuff for myself. Yeah, so I started at a very early age, even though I have much siblings. Yeah, I was in the middle. I was one of the middle child. Yeah, but then I realized at the initial stage that I had to start working for myself. So I started quite early. My first work, I started at the age of 8. That was when I did my first job that I earned money. And this wasn't like a salary job, you just I could give you an example. If you have a bottle or maybe a broken shoe, slippers that was made with rubber, made with rubber, you could sell that as a den, and because you could sell them to the waste management, whatever. Yeah, there are people who collect them, and then we just go around the streets, pick stuffs like that. Yeah, recycling stuffs. Yeah, and then you go there, they weigh it, and then you get some money. And it was also fun because as at then you wouldn't be able to do that as at that age of 8 years old. You have to be under your parents normally, and then some of us, we were quite, should I say, fortunate to be outside as at that age, and I think it helps a lot also because it is your environment. That's where you're coming from. If there are a lot of stuff. I'm just talking from my own experience. I could as well tell you a little bit about other experiences, even though I wasn't involved. But I think there are a lot of ways that we just try to survive. I wouldn't blame anybody for that. The situation makes you to just go out there and be whatever you want to be. And mostly we learn from the hard way. We learn in a very different way from, I think, from every other part of the world. Actually, I lost one of my siblings because she was sick, and there was not enough money for her medication. I think that was the basic reason, as based on my own understanding. Okay. Because I feel like if there is enough funds or enough medical attention, she wouldn't have died. So for me, it's a big loss actually, because she was one of my closest sister. She was my immediate elder sister. So we do most of the things together. We do go to school together. I have many cuts on my face, many marks. I got that from her actually, with her fingers and all that. So for me, each time I look at the scars, I mostly remember her. I missed her so much also, you know. And I don't like to remind my parents about that. It's all based on my experience and observation, yeah, because my parents really believe that God will save her. They believe that maybe, people just come around and start praying and kabashing instead of, putting some money together and look for how to, save this little angel. And all they do is they just come around and, put hands on her and pray and pray and pray. And then she was dying. And then at the end of the day, she gave up the ghost. And that was the first time I saw my father crying, actually. That was the first and last, I feel like if people are awakened to their reality, they will know the right stuff to do. I think when somebody seeks, it's just so, it's a simple knowledge that you take this person to the hospital. And if you're visiting this person, you don't just come to pray. Maybe you have some stuff that could help this person medically. Yeah, you could as well contribute, and not just come around and keep praying and praying and praying, and that people doesn't know how to think anymore. I think this might get a little bit controversial, but I don't want to generalize like people. Let me just use my parents for example. Because they would have been of a better person if they were not that much into religion. But I rebelled anyway because, I know myself. This is me. This is my life. I think a lot of people should wake up to this also, And of course, most particularly to Africans, this message should go to them, It's crazy, bro. And if you're coming from this type of places, you can imagine what life could have been. This is not like a Hollywood film or Nollywood. Yeah, this is like a real life stuff. And it's possible that a lot of things should be going on in my head. It's possible that my brain shouldn't be stable. Yeah, because for me it's like it's a tortured life actually. If you're in a place like that where things are not working, you have to, migrate. And you don't say, one day God is going to come and save me, and I know I'm a good person, people will come for me to rescue me. I know I do good, so my good will come back to me. Of course, but those good might not come back, bro. Maybe I was more aware, of how humans could be. I was more aware of how your faith couldn't help you. The only thing that helps you is your effort. And if you're taking your effort for granted based on faith, you'd get nothing, bro.